religious or not, I feel like people want to be entertained. And I think some mega churches, like the bigger the production, the more people, it seems, sometimes like to be a part of it. And that particular mega church, it felt very much like a scam. It felt very much like a production, a huge production, and not really about God at all.
We are back. See, you got me nervous. You told me you trusted me.
We are
I gotta go back to
another episode of Podcast Official. Hey, all right.
It's the podcast. We ain't the cable guy, but we your Comcast. Come take a seat. We need to speak and we can all laugh. Last Monday of the month, 7:30. Zoom in, chime in. We be talking dirty. It's the podcast. We ain't the cable guy, but we your Comcast. Come take a seat. We need to speak and we can all laugh. Last Monday of the month, 7:30. Zoom in, chime in. We be talking dirty. This is the podcast. This is the podcast. This is the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
It's the podcast. This platform for you. It ain't for me. So let's hear what you got to say.
This has been the best broadcast we've had.
Our topic of discussion for this month's episode is, what are your thoughts on mega churches?
Yeah, so I ain't got no experience with like what we traditionally would consider mega church to be. In terms of like the Mike Todds and the Jakes and all of them. I have researched it before, and I don't know, at this point in my life, I may be willing to go and hide, get my praise and go. So yeah, I don't know. Like go dip in and dip out. So yeah, I don't necessarily see much wrong with it, but from what I understand, even within those large churches, the main pastor that everybody see, and they have pastors even within that who kind of have different groups, and so they make it more personal from what I understand. But again, I've never experienced it.
You talking about make it more personal as far as like actually knowing the members like individually, stuff like that?
Yeah. I think because that's how church has been done traditionally, where you actually know the pastor actually knows the people. When it get to the point where the pastor doesn't necessarily know people, I think they get to the place where they have pastors outside of that head person in charge. And yeah, and if that's the case, then I guess they kind of know that you got the main speaker, and then you got the guy that you actually are the person that actually addresses your issues one-on-one. So I'm assuming that's how that worked, but again, I have no experience. I don't know.
Right. Would that matter to you? Like, just say if you were in a large church, you experience a large church, like, and you can answer this from where you're at in life right now. Like, would that matter that any of the pastors knew you personally, or like they have that type of connection, or if you were just a number, that would be cool too?
Where I am in my life right now, I'm a number.
Gotcha.
Let me just be a number.
Yeah.
We ain't even got to shake hands or none of that. Let me come in early enough to pay something in the pot and leave early enough for the traffic get crazy going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to.
Right.
I don't want zero politics. So yeah, I'm good with the just, hey, how you doing?
Right.
And I'll be out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I looked it up too, and it says mega church is any church that has 2,000 people or more in a weekend in its worship services. So with that in mind, I have been members of mega churches in Atlanta, as well as in New York. And I would venture to say the church I kind of grew up in Chicago. And I guess it all depends on the church and the pastor and so forth. What Justin was relating to, in all three of those situations, there were a lot of people coming through there on Sundays, but the pastors pretty much knew their members. They pretty much knew.
You're talking about at the three churches that you were talking about. Okay.
Yeah. If you were fairly regular, you didn't even have to be that involved. They kind of knew the members. They could kind of, even if they didn't know your name, they kind of knew you. That's so and so sits right there every Sunday. They kind of knew who their flock was. They did have staff, which I think Justin was referring to help with the day-to-day, but the pastors kind of knew their members. So it was mega, and it fit the definition, but it didn't feel mega. It was like you felt like you knew the people. Even if you went regularly, I could be out and I would say, you go to New Beginning, or somebody would say, you'll go to New Beginning, or you go to New Covenant or whatever, St. Paul, because we kind of all knew who was there. Now, once you get to the 15, 20, 30,000, I'm not sure how a pastor could know all of those people. And I guess they have the associate pastors that are pastors of various areas to help with that. So I've visited mega churches like that, the 15, 20, 30,000. And although I was just visiting, it wasn't quite as personal. Because like after the service, no one could get to the pastor. At my three churches, after the service, you could walk straight up to the pastor if you want to and speak to him or whatever. At the ones I visited, that was much larger. There was no like contact with the pastor during the service. The pastor was up there, and so I'm not sure if I would like that or not. I don't know. But the three that fit that bill, 2,000 or more on a Sunday, I enjoyed it. They were very instrumental in my spiritual development as well as in my kids' spiritual development. They had large youth departments and programs, and it was kind of family. And to this day, when I go back and see, it's like, oh my God, you still have that connection. So my experience has been a good one. And Justin, each time I would move out of town and join one, my intentions was to do what you said. I'm gonna sit in the back, duck in there, get mine and leave, but that never seems to happen. I seem to get really involved, and it might have just been the churches and how they were structured. So that has been my experience.
Do you, and I know you said you're not sure how you would like it, just say at the even larger mega churches and not having a connection with the pastor, but I guess from experiencing the ones that were large enough, but not so large where you could still have that connection with the pastor, like, do you feel that, I guess, your connection directly with the pastor was beneficial versus just say some of the other ministers or leaders or whoever in the church, like being able to have that, just that ability to go shake his hand after church or whatever like that? Like, do you think that was, I guess, a benefit?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it made it feel more personable. And it's not that, just the fact that, hey, Larnell, how you doing? Or, how the kids doing, or whatever, that they kind of knew who you were, and may not know all the details about you, but they knew who you were. They knew if you worked in a certain ministry, that's what you did, or there was just like a connection. And not only did they know who you were, if you were fairly regular, everybody kind of knew that you were a part of this fellowship. And so that camaraderie, that fellowship, that brotherhood, that sisterhood meant a lot in the fellowship and the loyalty and the commitment and the, because you felt like you were a part, and you felt like if you weren't there, you'd be missed, and that you expected to be there, and that you were needed there.
I think it depends on the church. It depends on the pastor, and it depends on the people in the church. I belong to a couple of mega churches, and the first one, I went in, I got what I felt I needed as far as the word is concerned. You know, I did meet the pastor, but it wasn't like he probably knew who I was because I really wasn't involved in anything. I come, I get, I leave, and I think it depends. And then the next church I'm in is also a mega church, and again, it depends on the people because you know visitors come in and they make you feel welcome and greet you. You know, don't make you feel like a stranger, make you feel like you're a part of whatever's going on. I don't think it's the size of the church or how many people are in the church. It's just how the church or the people make you feel. You know, I go to a small church and they totally ignore me. I probably ain't gonna come back. I go to a mega church and I run into someone that's nice and friendly and greeting. You know, it may make me want to come back. So it just depends on, you know, not the church, but the people in the church, which is what the church is. So, you know, I don't go to church to, you know, have to be up in the pastor's face because I'm not coming to worship him. I'm coming to worship, you know, God. And that's my focus. You know, if he knows me, that's cool. If he don't know me, that don't have any effect on if he's able to teach me and feed my spirit and my soul to give me the information I need. One of the things we do at our church is say, there's a saying that said we're a big church, but we have a small church feel. So if you come and you engage, you're going to know people. They've got a lot of different small groups because, you know, you got a couple of thousand people, you know, you're not going to know anybody, but you got, you know, 20, 30 different small group organizations where church members up to maybe like 10 to 15 people per group get together, socialize together, learn the word together. So it just depends on how the church is structured, and if the church, you know, is just hey, I'm here to get your money, you know, you come give me your money, you leave, I can care less about you. Yeah, well, that can be a small church as well. So I don't think it's the mega church. It's just the pastor, the people, and how that church makes you feel, and if you're getting what you need spiritually.
I ended up in a mega church by accident. Actually, my first and only experience. I had a piece of paper on my windshield around Thanksgiving that said free turkey, and said free turkey, and it had the address at the bottom, and I was low on funds at the time. So yeah, I talk about this on stage now. Like honestly, it was yeah, I thought it was just someone that I was going to pick a free turkey up at. But when I pulled up to the address, I saw that it was a church, and the dude said you have to attend service to be able to get the turkey. So I'm like, okay. And that particular mega church, sometimes I think that religious or not, I feel like people want to be entertained, and I think some mega churches, like the bigger the production, the more people it seems sometimes like to be a part of it. His wife did name 5 different funds in the first 30 minutes. People were, it was the probably wildest testimony I ever heard in my life, from a dude that got called up, a member of the congregation got called up to talk. Like it was so obvious that it was it felt very much like a scam. It felt very much like a production, a huge production, and not really about God at all. It was more like a money grab. And I think that a lot of the mega church, I think it starts with the pastor, honestly. If the pastor has good intentions and is really a person of the Lord, so to speak, then I think that the service will reflect that. But if the pastor is in it for the money and wants to put on a show and give the people a show instead of a traditional church service, and I think that the service will reflect that as well. Let's get the guitars out. Let's get the choir. We're about to have dances. We're about to have. I sing myself as a pastor. I'm gonna be playing the guitar. I'm moonwalking. I'm healing people. Everybody's speaking in tongues. You know, it's a show now. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the mega church. So,
welcome to the mega church.
It's a big church. It's a big show. So, the testimony was. And me personally, I don't think that this is what really happened, but this is what the testimony was. So he called the young dude up to the stage, and the young dude said, I was living a life that rappers rapped about, but I was really living it. All the kids in the neighborhood wanted to be like me. I was really selling drugs. I really had guns. My mom, God bless her soul, died of AIDS when I was 16. My dad got murdered when I was 20. I was 21 and didn't know how to read. And I looked to God. I said, God, I don't know how to read. Can you please tell me how I can learn how to read? You know what God told me? God told me, lock yourself in a room with a Bible and don't come out until you can read. And 3 days later, I could read.
You weren't buying that.
Now, I got people around me saying amen and hallelujah and all that. But I was wondering that other people know how reading worked.
Man, it's so crazy.
You can look at words. If you couldn't read words before you locked yourself in the room, reading is without some sort of instruction, unless, according to him now, 3 days later, God taught him how to read or gave him the ability to read. So, but that was it was so many things that were happening. He healed a blind dude, like, I don't know. And
the same guy who gave the testimony, or you talking about the pastor?
No, the pastor. Yeah, the pastor was healing people. He would touch people's head and go, heal, and then they would fall out. And one dude was blind. He touched his head. Can you see now? Yeah, I can see. And started running around the church. So, again, I don't think that's all mega church. I know that's not all mega churches, but that's what I was saying about it's all gonna be based on the pastor, the people underneath the pastor. But I think the root of it is the pastor, because if you really are not like anointed or have a calling, and you really just want to do it for the money, then again, I think the service will reflect that. And I think that's a lot of mega churches. I think that's how a lot of pastors are able to grow their congregations to such large numbers, because me personally, I think that a lot of pastors, I don't even think, this might be controversial, but I don't even necessarily think that they themselves believe in God. I think that they view preaching as a hustle, but they're able to convey the word so eloquently and just with conviction. They figured that out. They figured the science. It's like a science to it that they have, and they're able to make people in the congregation believe that they're men or women of God. So one question that I ask myself is, if the congregation walks away feeling like they've gotten the word and they've moved closer to God, then the pastor doesn't even necessarily have to believe in God themselves, because they were still able to accomplish the mission. And if they can do that enough, if they can make enough people believe that they're a man or woman of God, then you can get those type of numbers where it's 20,000 and 30,000 and 40 and 50. I mean, Joe Osteen, that's where the Rockets used to play. So, and he smiles the whole time. I love it. Some people I clearly think are full of it, and I'm amazed that people attend their church.
And last question before I let you go, did you at least get the turkey?
You know what? I got the turkey. All right. You know what the problem was? I had to stay in that service for 3 hours to get that turkey. When I tell you I ain't never enjoyed a turkey so much. I ate the skin, I ate the meat, I ate the bone, I licked the pan.
You had to make it worth it. I get it.
Sorry to interrupt, but I do want to let you know something just in case you're unaware, all right? This podcast actually is sponsored by a church. This platform was actually created by a pastor, Pastor Elmer Wilson, the pastor of New Beginning Ministries of Tampa. Listen, I know sometimes you may hear content on here that may not sound the holiest of holies, but that's the point. We allow people to come on here and express themselves and be themselves the way that they talk or the way that they think, the way they operate. It ain't no judgment. Hey, do you, boo-boo. Do you, okay? But nonetheless, if you live in the Tampa Bay area, we want to invite you to church, all right? 11323 North Nebraska Avenue. That's where we located, okay? Tampa, Florida. Pull up on us. You live in the Tampa area, pull up, man. We would love to see you. Okay, we'd love to see you. And if for whatever reason you can't pull up in person, you need to do a live stream, attend virtually, we go live at 12 noon every single Sunday. The real service in person is at 11 a.m. The live stream is at 12 noon, okay? On Facebook, you can watch it. On YouTube, you can watch it. Facebook is New Beginning Ministries of Tampa. YouTube, New Beginning Ministries of Tampa TV. Facebook, New Beginning Ministries of Tampa. YouTube, New Beginning Ministries of Tampa TV. Okay, we go live at 12 noon on the dot, and if you want to come in person, we go live at 11. All right, pull up on us, man. We'd love to see you. We'd love to see you. All right, come join us. Let's see your face right here at New Beginning Ministries of Tampa. Welcome to the podcast. All right, now go back to listening to this unholy podcast.
Yes, I've attended a mega church. Now that you defined it as 2,000 member or higher or larger, because I really thought a mega church was about 10,000. But I think I don't have when I go to a church, I go to hear a couple I like the fellowship. And then I like to feel that I feel welcome, that I'm a part of. Because when I first moved here, there weren't mega church at the moment, but I just didn't feel the old traditional church. I just didn't fit in. Because they had
when you first moved here, just for context, people who don't know where you're at, you're talking about Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, when I first moved to Atlanta, that's correct. And I was trying to find, coming from an AME, trying to find a place, church, really. And so I went to a couple others, but then it just didn't fit. One, probably I didn't know a lot. And then two, yes, at that time, if the relationship is not there, and I don't want to sound churchy, but I'm only sharing my point of view. If the relationship is not there with God, then you don't know what to expect. So then you go, and when things that you see that occur, you don't want to be a part of it, and you just walk away. I heard something, and I just left the church. Well, two reasons. One, that was the main one. That put the icing on the cake. First, and you didn't show up to do my wedding. You didn't show up to do my counseling. And then when I hear you see my car, and somebody yard, that don't mean I'm in the house. I said, I know this is not the place. But that was 2,000, member church. But I think it depends on the culture of the church. And then, yes, as an individual, I look more beyond what is being taught. Am I learning? And then I don't want to be pressured into anything. being in church or out of church. I think don't pressure me. Don't, it's okay for invitation, but your invitation when I come into your church shouldn't be contingent on if you're gonna give me something, I have to stay for that. No, I think I'm not, I don't work on that, but I think it's okay for church growth. I really do, as long as the members are developing. And when I say developing, I mean develop the correct way versus the worldly way. And you're right, correct in hearing and some of the thoughts. I do agree with several of the previous speaker, but it depends, and if that culture or that direction, the leader, because it starts with the leader of whichever house you may attend. So if the leader is not demonstrating the right, I don't want to use the word the right leadership, but if you're not demonstrating the love and the direction, then you're right, the followers would do that. And so I don't want a church to tell me, I don't care if you're small or big, large. I don't want to be in any place where I'm sold on false hope. I don't want to be there if I don't want you to tell me, spit in my face to tell me I can accept God. I don't want that. So I think as long as, but then if you don't know what is truth, then you'll fall into anything. So I think the church is not just the church, but I think is both the individual taking part within the church as well as the leadership of the church. So I think it depends on the culture of their church, and then it depends on the leadership, what is there to offer. And now I want to be someplace where I'm being taught and there's something to offer, especially if I have children. At that time, we were a mega church in the beginning, but there was ministries that was being offered that will help develop, grow, not just me, but my children as well. So it depends on what the atmosphere, what that culture has to offer to help growth. Not about giving me money or none of that, but growth. That's what I look for. What is it you offer me to grow? Right. And then I also don't want to be in a mega church because I've heard mega pastors, when they say things that is not in line with the word, my mouth sometimes is open and I don't know what's going to come out. And so when I hear it, if they say things that I know is not in line, I'm going to speak back to them. Right. And for example, I have one mega pastor said, some of you driving Mercedes and can't afford. I say, you don't know what they can afford. I have one and mine nearly paid for. So don't say that. And from then, I could not listen to him anymore because it was a turnoff. So I think if you stay focused, it doesn't matter if you're in a mega church or you're in a smaller church. But if the leadership, if the speaker is staying focused on the word, then I think it'll work. But when you're not, and you're bringing some worldly views it's okay to give an example, but stay focused. If it ain't line up with your text, don't say it.
If you go to a mega church, you're gonna spend some money. It's like going to a club. Oh, you're gonna spend some money. Like spend some money on a girl. You're gonna spend some money on that pastor. Because they'll let you know. I'd have been to one. My wife, we got married, and my wedding already came up to 13 grand. That came out of my pocket. Wow. Wow. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then she was a member to the church. And the pastor said, well, to get married in here gonna cost you $500. If you want to walk through the door, it's $500. So he made it known that's what it was. So I like, wow, y'all a member, y'all pay y'all tithes and offering, y'all, you know what I'm saying? And then after, we got there stuff, he told me, whispered to me, he said, and it's all right if you palm the pastor hand too. I'll be like, you want some more money? He told me this personally. Right. I can't lie. I can't make this up. But he was real about it. So I handed him $200. I said, well, wow, I ain't gonna have no money after I leave here, huh? Right. So he made it known that it was about the money. See, in mega churches, you're a number. They don't really care about, they're going to tell you a little bit about God and stuff. But I have been to one, and the pastor said, and this was last year, the pastor said, I just was visiting. Pastor told his members, he said, y'all got to dig deep in the pocket, y'all. Y'all know about this here. He said, because I'm looking, I see myself in a Rolls Royce before the year over. I saw myself. I don't know what kind of, he probably had a dream, because these people can't even pay their rents and they license, they struggling, and he see himself in the Rolls. So listen, man, I'm gonna just tell y'all, I rather go to a church where it's like, 25 or less, because then you get in tune, the pastor get in tune with yourself. And when you see them churches, like them ran down churches, ain't no real money there. You might go put $2 or $3 in it, and they take what they can get.
All right.
So, but if you in that mega church, they looking. Hey, look here, somebody gave you $2. Yeah, y'all need to come back. Dig deep in your pocket. You got the members coming up there giving 100 stuff, because I done saw it. Yeah. So I'm not good with that stuff like that, because I still need my side money. I got to have my side money. Can't mess with that money. The side money, I explain what side money is. That means when I leave there, I might run into something that I got to pay for. So, she might be expensive. So, no mega churches, man, y'all can have them, seriously.
Gotcha.
They nice to look at, but
yeah.
You might want to walk past them. They nice to look at now. They real nice.
Yeah.
I think mega churches really need to do more for the community. Housing they can do better with. Just a bunch of things that they can do better with, other than paying the pastor or the head of the church or whatever. My mom was buried at a mega church. We didn't really have too much affiliation, other than my brother's ex-wife was a member. And I think she's some type of pastor or something, if I'm not mistaken, at the church. But anyway, mom was buried. They took care of the arrangements at the church and everything. Everything was good. It was just once one of my other loved ones ended up working there is when they did it. I feel like they did a great job with facilitating the ceremony. It was on them. They did not charge us anything. This is a church that's in my area over in Alexandria, though. It was just when one of my family members started working there, it kind of revealed that people that work at the church, they're human. So they gonna be human. They gonna human type things. They gonna disappoint you. You know what I'm saying? So, I had a family member that worked over there afterwards, and the experience for them was just a nightmare. Because this person wasn't born or was Baptist. This person was actually Muslim born, but ended up just like anybody else, just getting a job as a receptionist or somebody at the church. And they made it very difficult for my peoples. I just think it's overrated. When I say just difficult sexual harassment, when you have so many areas where people can facilitate and bother people or stuff like that, it's not just in the church. When you got a mega church, you even have an offsite, where you got a receptionist, offices, people that conduct business, women work there, deacons, other people coming in and out. That's when they have so much money and wild stuff can happen. You know what I'm saying? Just doesn't happen in the small churches or in church. It just, happens in these offices that are owned by the church, but still housed. And on Sunday, they big righteous, and then Monday through the remaining of the week, or they going wild. So I'm not a real big fan of mega churches, because I just know that they hide a bunch of things and are behind the money from the congregation. They don't offer enough housing, schooling for the communities. You know, you can have a large church that got $5,000-6,000 seating, so 2,000 seating. Let's just say a mega would be what, anywhere from like 1,000 to 2,000.
So when we looked it up earlier, it's basically like somebody who brings in 2,000 like
2,000
members
plus
or above,
above. So if you have that type of congregation and people come in and you can seat that many, let's say you can seat 2,000, it should be a school that mirrors that. It should be some type of medical facility for the community if they need to go get checkups. You know, because that's what it used to be. That's what the church was, the hospital. You know, you get some prayers, you get blessed. It's a hospital. It's a place where the children learn, and I just don't think it's enough of that. And we're just not in the mega church. They're not buying up enough real estate. McDonald's got real estate in churches.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think the mega churches are also a diversion for our community, because you know. It's just part of the diversion for us to hold us up, you know, have us invest in people we really don't even know throughout the week. I don't know you, but you want me to give you $100, $500, $200, $2, even if it's $2. Facilitating something that I worked hard for to give to you. That I don't know what you really gonna do with that. That might be on $1 later with some white stuff on there. How do I know?
Not with white
you understand? Man, come on, like, we in real life, man. Let's tear this. It's real life. You think it ain't no? Look at the pastor that just got in trouble. I mean, in trouble in I think in Brooklyn or whatever. I don't think he had a real large congregation, but he about to do 9 years because he want to be big flamboyant, big diamonds, big chain, be Brooklyn. You want to be? Well, you're not a rapper. You supposed to be somebody that help people or whatever. So I just don't think that. I think with a lot of the mega churches, these guys flying around on big jets and big mega buses, and your congregation can barely pay bills. So I'm not like a big fan. You know, if I go to a church or something, it might be especially like a mega church, it might just be from like an invite or something. You know what I'm saying? I think for the most part, we just need to bend on these knees. The church is us. We the church for real. We are really the church. People post back in the day. If you think back in the day, people used to preach on the streets before there was like a building to preach it. So they're able to communicate with people. We all technically pastors and preachers, and we just don't have the paperwork. I'm facilitating, teaching people every day. When I walk in the door, and somebody gonna get taught by me. I'm 50. I'm gonna teach somebody. You don't really have to be at a mega church to get what you need anymore, per se. You just don't need to really do it.
I just been listening, and it's very, very interesting, because I never knew that a megachurch only consisted of 2,000 people. I always thought it was the arena type thing, where there was 10 million, and I'm not into a lot of people, so I can never go to a mega church. It's just many people for me. I do listen to some of it on TV. One person on TV, I do listen to him, and that's about it. But I just think that, to me, mega churches, because when I was looking up certain things, and I'm looking at pastors making $750 million and stuff like that. So to me, a mega church is a business. I think of it as a business. Now, they say all churches are business, but there's different type of businesses, you know. A small church is, I think, worship. You know, I think that there's a difference between business and worship. I think there's a difference between preaching the word and saying the word. You know, and my thing about church is I go there for fellowship. I go there to get the word of God from my pastor, who is a shepherd. You know, and I just don't think mega church would do it. Not for me. I know it won't.
I reluctantly say this, but because I am the type of person that does a lot of research, I do want to say that there are mega churches out there that play a much larger role in the communities that they're in than they're acknowledged for and that they care to put out there. You do have to dig deep for that information. And they just take the hits as far as being accused of not doing those things. So because again, I'm aware and can state names of specific organizations and preachers that do that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not defending mega churches or any kind of churches. I believe in the body of Christ, period. So the separate organization thing is what it is. But I do, in relation to dealing with the church, I think it should be, we should have this conversation in truth. And the truth is there are mega churches and pastors that do the right thing, but as is the case in life, the ones you hear about are the ones that don't. The squeaky wheel always get the most attention. But yeah, like I think the brother was saying earlier, ultimately, I think we all as a collective should strive to be church, not go, but be. And then you go. Once you are, then you go and fellowship together. Fellowship is something I got to do better at. But yeah, that's what it kept. Mega church pastors are easy targets. And for whatever reason, I felt moved to step up and say not all of them are out there doing the wrong thing. And also, I don't personally hold preachers to that level of account just because they are human. And I think if we actually held everybody to, I know if I'm a preacher, you hold me to account, you will definitely find a reason in my past why I shouldn't be a preacher no more. So I tend to want to focus on what is being preached. Now, when you get there and those mega churches start preaching, and it be like, bro, where you get that? That ain't. But as long as they stick with the book, I ain't got no issue with them.
Rico, I think he said something that, some people just go to be entertained, which could be true. Just because you go to church doesn't mean you check your brain at the door and become a 2-year-old and let somebody standing behind the pulpit tell you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. There's a lot of signs. My pastor or someone said, you get the preacher that you deserve. Now, if you walk into a church and the guy got $100 line over here, $500 line over here, and $1,000 line over here because he wants a new car, and you sit through the whole service, it ain't the preacher. It's you. Because you checked your brain and your common sense at the door. So, if you want to go to a church and the pastor's preaching and you don't know that what he's saying is actually true, and you don't go back and study, then you're going to fall for anything. It's just like any kind of scam. It sounds good, it looks good, I'm going to give it a shot. Then you realize it was a scam. I mean, things can happen in a mega church, like the brother just said. Since it's a mega church and the perception is you making all this money, you're an easy target. But if the same thing happened in a smaller church, you would never hear anything about it. So, we focus on the mega church just because it's out there. But it is like I say, it's not the size of the church. It's the people in the church. And, I knew somebody, they went to a church, maybe 50 people. And the pastor raped this young girl because he was trying to date his mother, got her pregnant, had 3 kids by, he's still in the pulpit, she's sitting in the second row behind the wife in the first row. you know, and then eventually he broke up with his wife and married the girl he molested, who was like 12 or 13 years old. But that was a small church. That didn't get no news. You know, they didn't publicize that, but it's happening there. So it's the preacher, and if you not getting what you need, and if he's telling you something just to make you feel good and not teaching you the word, then it's on you to go back and validate what he just said. Is that true or not? And if you choose to ignore it, then that's on you. You know, because they're a man or they're a woman. They're human beings. You know, and neither one of them, I bet you, they ain't walked across no water. You know,
Right.
You know,
All
so if you go there and you're going to worship a human being, you're gonna fall into the scam. If you go there looking to worship God and get the word from God, then you know, nope, this ain't right. And most people feel that in their gut. They know it ain't right, but then they get sucked into what Rico said, the entertainment part of it, and just fall victim. So we can always point and blame somebody else, but sometimes we need to look at ourselves and say, wait a minute. You know, a pastor come by and say, oh, I need to take your daughter to this blah, blah, blah. And I'm gonna say, oh, okay, then see you later. You know, now you done lost all your senses knowing you don't let your daughter go away with some man just because he's a pastor. But then when something happens, it's like, oh, the pastor did this. No, you did it because you allowed it. You know, so don't check your brain at the door just because you're walking into a church. You know, you need to tune it up to open up ears and open up your mind and open up your spirit to see what's real and what's not real. And if it's not real, you can always leave and go find another place where you're going to get what you're looking for.
Yeah, real quick. I would just adding to the brother that spoke. I'm just when I'm meaning that churches needed like, you know, community center housing, things like that. It's just really to say we need more churches doing it, not that that I know that there are churches out there that are mega churches. Of course, I mean, I've been around here for a minute. Of course, I know that a lot of them are doing stuff for the community. I'm just saying we need more. So, you know, all of them can be heard. Squeaky wheel. I mean, everybody needs to know that churches are a place to get help, not only for the not for just the church to be able to help themselves. You know what I'm saying? What if we just took the money out of things, or then the church wouldn't, I mean, is the church even, let me ask you a question. I'm not, you know, somebody else might be able to answer. Are churches normally, they're not federally funded, right? By anybody? Or
can I respond to that?
She want to answer.
Yeah. A lot of churches, particularly larger ones, but even smaller ones, they will do grants or programs that will warrant federal money. And sometimes that's how they get in trouble, because once you get federal money, they, you know, they have more of a hand in that. But a lot of the larger churches, what we're calling mega churches, and they have subsidiaries. They really truly are, I think somebody said businesses. So they have subsidiaries under the nonprofit that can get funds through grants, and they do a lot of different things. So a lot of them are not just the donations that people are giving on Sundays.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that it was just the donations that kind of, I knew it was probably grants and certain things that, but I just wasn't sure in depth. So I appreciate that. But overall, I just think that, you know, if the church is going to be in the community, and it got to be for the community. We got to figure out how we can also, as a people that go to mega churches, or people that go to mega churches or whatever, how they can benefit also. So it's all just about the community also benefiting with daycare homes, and, you know, just showing some type of more real estate to be able to house, to give to their congregation.
Right.
Like I just feel like, you know, the church could I mean, and like I said to the brother that was speaking, that from my rebuttal over just speaking on, I just think that do a little bit more with the churches than just what we're doing.
For those that weren't on here at the beginning, I started out saying that I born and raised in Chicago. I was a part of a mega church according to the definition of the 2,000 or more. Moved to New York, was a part of another mega church because it was 2,000, or so a Sunday. Then moved to Atlanta, was a part of another mega church because it fit that 2,000. And then now I'm in Tampa, and I'm on the other end of the spectrum, a very small church, which I love. But I don't think it's so much whether it's mega or small. And so many people have said it on the call. It is what that church is about, and is it reaching out beyond the walls? Now, 2 of the 3 mega churches, our pastor received love offerings. They weren't on salary. They did not receive a salary from the church. Whatever the people, they had a little separate envelope of purple or red, whatever the people decided to give to the pastor, that's what they got. They didn't even get a salary. And then my pastor now of a very small church, he won't allow love offerings or pastor anniversaries or anything like that. He said he worked just like everybody else, which I can appreciate. So even on the small level, we reach out at our level, helping homeless. And if anybody walks in our church right now, and it's very small, and need help, they are going to get help. And that's what I like to help people. Now, I've been part of the larger churches, and my church in New York did just what you're talking about, CJ. We did the Nehemiah project where houses were built and people could afford them. You didn't have to have the best credit. You didn't have to have a big down payment. You didn't have to make a lot of money, but they worked so that people could get those houses. And I have a very good friend now who had one, and she years later was able to sell it at a profit and move to Atlanta and build one off of her proceeds, free of, paid for, and retire because of that Nehemiah house that she was able to get when she was in New York that the church sponsored. They had a school. I was a part of that. I was young at the time, but I was on that board, hiring and putting that school together. So there are churches, like you said, CJ and Justin, that do reach out, that fits that mega bill. And then there are churches that fit the mega bill and they're not being as responsible, with the money. That's anything. You have some doctors, you got some good doctors, you got some quacks. But am I not going to go to a doctor when I'm sick? Yeah, I'm going. And if I find a quack, I'm not going to go to them no more. I'm going to go to one that's reputable and that's good. And so I think, I don't think it's really a choice of mega or not mega. It's what is that leader? How are they leading the people? What are they doing? Jesus was all about reaching outward and not so much of this. And so are they leading the people, to help and to live in the kingdom? So I just wanted to put that out there, too. There are some larger churches doing some things, and there are some larger churches that aren't, and that just comes to and there's some smaller churches doing some great things. And I visited some smaller churches, and I was a little suspect about what their motives were, what the pastor's motives were, and that kind of thing. And so I don't think it's the size. I think, as everybody has kind of said, it's the individuals involved, and are they really committed, to doing what God would have them to do.
I just want to say, kind of piggyback on what Garnell said. I don't think it's so much the size of the church. I think all churches should give back. I have a friend, she attends a small church. Once a month on Saturdays, they would feed people. Sometimes it'd only be 20 people. Okay, you say it's just 20, but that's 20 more people that ate that wouldn't have eaten that day. So at whatever level the church is able to give back, they should be able to. They should. And also, some mega churches, you may see 5,000 people sitting up there, but all 5,000 people are not tithing. Some of them are coming because it is a mega church. Some of them are coming because they want to hear the good singing. Now, certainly, just mathematically, a church of 2,000 probably raised more money than a church of 50. But just because you got a lot of people packed in there, sometimes people come solely because it is a large church. They may put $1 in the pan, they may not put anything in the pan. Church should give back to whatever level they're able to give back, because that's one of the purposes I feel for the church. And on the outside looking in, unless you're inside really knowing what's happening, you don't know what degree that church is giving back, being a large church or a small church. It could be a small church, the pastor keeping every dime he gets. You don't know that unless you're in the inside, but that's not really your priority. You should give as you should give, and then let the church do what they can do, and you can also always do something on your own.
Young lady was saying about, giving, what you can give, I guess, how you tithe or whatever. Well, that Bible, God gave you the Bible from the beginning, basic instruction before that's the word Bible. So you have your instruction of what's the do's and don'ts. Jim Jones, you remember Jim Jones? He had followers, millions, that drank their juice and went to sleep and never woke up. So you can follow whoever you want to follow. I'm not here to say that, but mainly, I never seen a mega church do nothing. Maybe that's just me, because I know somebody with a mega church personally, and the young lady, her dad, caught dementia at the time. They took over, but it was strictly, paper, and I respected it because that's what it was. I mean, they gave. Now watch this here. They got a whole lot of money and told them, hey, look here, you got to give and give. But God said, go to the storehouse and pay your tithe. He really never specified what the storehouse was. So if my light's gonna get cut off, I'm not gonna give nobody my last. I'm gonna go pay my lights. Maybe that's the storehouse. To keep my lights on for my family. Because my mom, she was a big thing on the mega church. And when she was dying in the hospital, we went out to the pastor. He said, yeah, let's pray for Sister Johnson. But anybody never showed up. But back when we was in Savannah, Georgia, pastors used to show up and pray for you in the hospital, If you remember back then, some people probably remember that. But they don't do that no more. Not none of the churches I cross. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not here to tell people what to do, because everybody got their do's and don'ts. And everybody should, everybody gonna do what they want to do, need to do, I guess, And if that's what you need to do, go to a mega church and cool. And if you want to go to a smaller church, see, smaller churches, you used to be on the name basis. The pastor really know who you are. But the mega churches, you got 2,000 better. You ain't, he got other business to tend to. So he ain't going one by one down there. You might go up there and shake his hand. So some churches, maybe like the one down south here in Miami, you can't even talk to the pastor. You have to talk to a deacon or something here, get the message to the pastor. I mean, if you want to give him, an offering personally, you can't do that. They'll let you know, no, we got this. We'll tell them that you want to talk to them and stuff, and you'll set an appointment. See? So some people, that's the way they go. You know what I'm saying? So they are there, because sometimes we get, caught up with everybody else. They point their finger at us too. Like it might not be you, but you could be around somebody who's doing something, and they say, since you're around them, you too. So I guess the mega church is taking the hit for the churches not doing that. So they right about that. But like I say, if you got common sense, your do's and don'ts. If you see somebody just money, and you keep paying and your lights off, or your kids hungry in the house, and you give all your money to the church, then hey, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Because God speaks in the Bible about, naive, not thinking for yourself, that's when you'll give common sense. So I just say this like this. If you're going to a church, a mega church, small church, no church at all. It's what you believe in your heart, you know what I'm saying? And that's gonna get you to heaven, not the church. So y'all do it like y'all do, and just be careful out there.
Mega churches do have a lot to offer. Mega churches can get a little sticky sometimes, just depending on what doctrine they're teaching. I wouldn't say I have any beef with mega churches, because there are some mega churches that I feel do a lot for the community, and then there are some mega churches that I feel take too much from the community and they don't contribute enough back. In my opinion, I feel like every mega church should at least have a school attached to it, a community center, a senior center, and some type of library. something attached to it other than just the church taking in money is always what I felt about mega churches. Yeah, that's how I feel about mega churches. It just depends on the pastor and the doctrine that's being preached and how the members are and the board handles the church. That has a lot to do with how money is being handled, because not all boards are created equal. And the board was not distributing funds correctly, and things didn't go well. They didn't go well at all. So that has a lot to do with it. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Raised in church. I was in for a long time and I saw a lot. And one thing I do know is that church is not what people think it is. Most churches are not what people think it is. A lot of the time the intention is there, but it's not coming out that way. It's not coming out that way.
He wasn't out here doing my segment of my portion. I kind of mentioned some of what you're saying. But you can see that we might have discussed this before. So some of can you tell, I mean, before he wrap up or whatever, you have a degree in something ministry?
Oh yeah, I have an associate's degree in ministry. So there was a time period in my life where I felt like I wanted to be a youth minister. So I went ahead and got my associate's degree in theology. I didn't end up pursuing that, but I have spent my time in the Christian faith and in church. And one of the things I learned about church leadership is church as a spiritual center and church as a business entity are not the same thing. And when they get intertwined, that's where a lot of the clash comes in. And that's what kind of deters people from wanting to come, because I noticed that parishioners and congregants don't know what to think a lot of the time when those things two clash together. So I've always felt like in religions that are not Christian, in other faiths, they have like a different method. And I think that I've always thought that maybe the Christian church might want to adopt some of those methods as far as finance, because I've seen churches of other faiths have actually different funds for like community projects. So they had dues and you were part of the community. You could use the community center. Your grandparent could use the senior center. They had a school, but if you were a member of the church, your children went to the school for the discount. It's like they were more honest about the fact that we're using the funds for this and we're using the funds for this. This is not the building fund for 30 years. We're actually using the money for this. You know what I mean? It works out better. So I don't know if that's the direction that everybody was going in, but that is my experience in church. I don't think it's all bad, but it's not all cakes and roses either.
Right. And just one last question real quick. I know you said you grew up in church. Did you grow up in a mega church, or was it like a smaller church, or?
It was like, I like to call it medium. It was a medium-sized church. So I was there during the period where the church transitioned from being like a small community church to like a medium-sized church, like a little over 1,000, like a little over 30. So it wasn't small, but it wasn't like 50. It wasn't like TD Jakes. It wasn't like Otter's house, but it got to the point to where it was over 1,000. And I saw the church go through this. My time in church, I went through the growing period. I was in the youth ministry. I was in the youth choir. I was on the praise and worship team. I was doing the announcements. I was coming to volunteer at the church regularly. I did my pastor actually had a doctorate in theology, and he was an adjunct professor at Hampton. And that's how I ended up getting my associate's degree, because we got a discount for going to his classes. And so I saw that transition, and that kind of taught me kind of and just traveling with the choir and traveling with my gospel group, I kind of saw what church was, what church looks like to the outside, what church looks like on the inside, what goes on in that office when they counting that money. Right. I have seen some of the worst fights I have ever seen in my life. Right. And I'm from PG County, inside of the office. So that's, so that's the perspective that I'm coming from with it. Faith is a wonderful thing. And it can lift you to heights that you could never. Your faith is everything. And one of the things I think you have to get to the point in your spirituality where you have to be open, but you have to realize that faith is always a bridge to a stronger spiritual foundation. So whatever avenue you want to go down, it is a good place to get your spiritual foundation, because I'll never discount it. I learned so much about how to live my life and how to deal with people and how to connect to myself. I wouldn't trade that for anything. I wouldn't trade that for anything. But also, as you get older and you grow up in church, you see the reality of what the organization is, and you have to, in your mind, reconcile those two things. And it's difficult, because if you grew up and if you part of a mega church, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They know what I'm like. I see two people rolling around on the floor over a microphone. Like, it was crazy.
Right,
So,
wow. Right.
So, that's the perspective that I'm coming from.
There will be a part 2 to this conversation, because I wanted to hear not only what's your thoughts on mega churches, but then what's your thoughts on like mega church pastors, and even more specifically, like should pastors be allowed, or is it okay for pastors to be able to just say drive Lambos and Rolls Royces and have their own private jet and et cetera, et cetera. And I normally give my kind of perspective, but I feel like with everything that everybody has said, I mean, I anything that I would say would pretty much just kind of piggyback everything that has been said. I think in a nutshell, I don't think you should just say group anybody together in any form or fashion. You know, I don't think that all churches are good just because one is good. I don't think all churches are bad just because one is bad, no matter the size of the church. I think it is on us as people who show up to a particular church to do our due diligence to make sure that whatever ministry we are attaching ourselves to, or even a job that you're attaching yourself to, or any type of organization you're attaching yourself to, you know, it's legit, and it's not, you know, somebody who's doing the wrong thing, scamming people, in it for the wrong reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, they're gonna be, like CJ actually said earlier, like inside the church or outside the church, humans are gonna be humans, you know, and we should not put our faith in humans, because then you'll always end up disappointed. Ultimately, put your faith in God. And, you know, stand firm on your morals and your values, and ultimately I think, you know, it'll work out for you. So